Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for this virtual CID interview preparation workshop. My name is Emily Dupree, and I am the College of Engineering career peer here in the LSU Olin Career Center. And today I'll be discussing interviews. We are going to review the different types of interviews you may encounter on construction interviewing day, how to prepare for those interviews, and what to do after your interview, so you can be successful as you talk to employers or other potential interviewers. If you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to send them through the chat feature on Zoom. I'll be monitoring the chat throughout, and will try my best to answer all of your questions. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to begin by talking about the purpose of an interview. An interview is a time for an employer to determine your qualifications. They want to know if you meet all of the requirements of the role. As a student, those requirements can be your GPA, education level, proficiency in computer softwares, upon other things. For full-time positions, this may expand to your years of experience within the industry. Check the job description for all requirements for the role. During an interview, employers are also trying to determine if you're fit within the company and the team. They want to learn how well you're able to collaborate with others in the team environment and acclimate to the company culture. So they may be trying to determine if you are a good fit for them, but at the same time, you should be evaluating if their company is a good fit for you and your career goals. The different types of interviews. There are numerous different types of interview methods and mediums. A screening interview is a first round interview to understand your qualifications. These interviews precede deeper interviews. A behavioral interview is when an employer asks behavioral questions to understand how you behave under certain conditions, and we'll be going over a few of these later on. Case interviews are when you are provided with a business problem that you need to work through. For example, if you're interviewing with Boeing, the interviewer might ask, how can we improve the fuel efficiency of our airplanes? Puzzle interviews are designed to see how you think on your feet and how you attempt to answer a difficult or impossible question. For example, how many people use Facebook in San Francisco at 2:30 p.m. on a Friday? This isn't a question that they would expect you to know off the top of your head, but you can provide methods to how you could acquire the answer or some estimations to get a best guess. Technical interviews are mostly for those looking for software developer roles or similar roles. They require you to showcase your technical skills related to that role. They may require you to code, solve problems, or some other task related to the position. Panel interviews are when there is one interviewee with two or more interviewers. And then a group interview is when there is one or more interviews with two or more applicants at the same time. They often look to see your interpersonal skills and how you'll work within that group. The different mediums that employers use to host these interviews include by phone. So in this case, you're able to keep your resume, notes, and other documents nearby without interviewer seeing. They are often shorter conversations, and although the interviewer may not see you, you want to try to smile to make your voice sound more friendly. A virtual interview is similar to in-person interviews in that it is live, and you can see each other when you have a virtual interview. You want to give special consideration to your background, surroundings, any lighting, placement of any of your notes, the strength of your internet, eye contact, and positioning of your camera. Video interviews are similar to a virtual interview, except there is no interviewer. You record yourself answering questions and submit your recordings. And in-person interviews are the traditional interview medium, but at this time it is rare that you have an in-person interview, but hopefully we'll be getting back to this next semester. So for construction interviewing day, the most common interview methods are going to be behavioral interviews and panel interviews, and this will mostly occur by phone or virtually. If you have an interview scheduled for CID, you want to check Handshake in case your interviewer left any details on how they wish to interview you to be properly prepared. Employers may also contact you by email with any links or further details, so be checking your emails. So you applied for a role and got an interview. Congratulations. Before your interview, you want to do some thorough research on the company and the role. To do this, you want to read the entirety of the job description posted to be able to reiterate how your qualifications correlate to the position, and formulate any questions you may have about the role that was not included. Try not to ask the employer about something that is clearly listed in the job description, or this may make them think you did not familiarize yourself with the role before applying. And you can also check news and press releases for any current public projects that they are working on to mention during your interview to further show your interest in the company. You can also do some research on the industry in general and find any competitors of the company you're interviewing with to have a better idea of how they compare. This information can contribute to your reasoning to why you chose to work with them. A very important part of your research should be reading employee and candidate reviews. Both positive and negative ones will help you. These reviews will give you unfiltered opinions on the company and hopefully about the role that you may take on. You can find these on Glassdoor or the Q&A tab in Handshake. A good place to start all your research is the company's website and social media channels like LinkedIn. Try to locate their vision, their mission, and value statements to evaluate how they align with your own. If you have time to do further research, it can be beneficial to locate the C-level leadership in the company, the position's direct supervisor, and their financial statements. Now, one question that a lot of students dread is the "so tell me about yourself" question. This is your time to present yourself in a way that you may not have been able to on your resume, and it is one of the most common questions that you will encounter. When you answer, you're showing your ability to think on your feet, articulate your experiences and qualifications, and distinguish those that are important to the employer. You want to include things like your academic background, experiences, career interests, how the company fits with your career goals, and anything that makes you unique as a candidate. So here's an example of a good answer to the "tell me about yourself" question. You're going to want to start off with your academic background. This is time to mention your school, classification, major, and your minor. So you can say something like, "I'm currently in my junior year at Louisiana State University, pursuing my bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering." And then you're going to want to go into detail about your relevant experiences and how they've impacted you. This can be organizations, current or past jobs that you've held, or hobbies that have influenced your career goals. So something like, "While I've been at LSU, I've had the opportunity to participate in Tiger Racing, where we design, build, and race a race car. I've contributed specifically to the body design team, where I worked with 3 other engineering students to design the body of the car, balancing weight, aerodynamics, durability, and industry safety standards. I've really valued the hands-on experience that I've gotten from Tiger Racing, and it's helped me to solidify my choice to pursue automotive engineering after graduation." Then you can go into more detail about the impact by explaining your career interests. So think about your short-term and long-term goals that relate to why you want to be hired for the position. So for example, "I'm currently looking to gain experience with a leading automotive manufacturer and want to branch out to engine design. I'm interested in engine design because of how technically adept the engineers who work on these projects need to be. I love design work and working through complex problems in an effort to increase efficiency, both with large-scale and marginal gains." Finally, don't forget to wrap up with how you relate to the company. So this statement verifies that you've done your research, how you came across the application, and briefly why you're interested. So you can say, "I saw Nissan's automotive engineering internships on Handshake, and after further research, I was drawn to apply due to your internship program's high regard across the industry, and that your former interns go on to do very exciting work in the field of engine design." So this is a very well planned out "tell me about yourself" answer. You don't have to be so specific during your answer, but try to practice it as best as you can so that you can explain every aspect. So the interviewer might ask to follow-up question. So why are you interested in the role? You're going to want your answer to this question to reflect upon your goals and your values. So explain how having this role will help your career development and how your values align with the company's values. Your answer should articulate what you're looking for in the position. Is there some skill sets that you strive to have that come with the experience of the role? Or is your goal to start in this position to work your way up to a different position within the company? And make sure to showcase you've done your research and connect yourself to the job and the company. How do you fit in the company's mission, and what role could you play in this position to help them achieve their goals? So the most common type of question in an interview are behavioral questions. So like I mentioned before, these questions usually ask you about a time in the past that you've experienced something and how you reacted. Your answer will help the interviewer evaluate how you will behave in the future. So to answer these questions, we recommend that you use the CAR or STAR method. So CAR stands for context. So the situation and the task you were presented with. And then A is for action, which would be what did you do to accomplish the given task? And then R is going to be for result of your actions. So was the task completed successfully? Did you fail and learn how to approach the problem differently next time? So here's a sample answer to the behavioral question. Tell me about a time when you had to resolve conflict on a project team. The context of this answer is at the beginning of the semester for my senior design project course, my team sat down to outline the project timeline. We discussed how long each part of the project should take and agreed upon certain timeline projections. We agreed to give ourselves 1 week to brainstorm ideas and then come together, pitch our ideas, discuss, and make a final selection for our project concept. Unfortunately, one team member needed multiple extensions, and it began to really eat into our timeline. This was causing some tension on the team. And then the action. Because of the increasing tension on the team and the fact that we were cutting more and more time out of our actual design timeline, I wanted to be proactive to resolve this issue before it got bigger. I decided to message the group member individually to see if I could learn what exactly was the barrier for them being ready for our pitch session. They told me that they were having trouble generating ideas and that they didn't want to show up to the meeting empty-handed because they felt they wouldn't be pulling their own weight. I set up a time to meet with this person. We bounced ideas off of each other and were able to come up with some ideas for them to present to the larger group. And then the result of our action. So once we met and were able to generate ideas, we were able to have our pitch meeting and select our final concept. This group member presented their ideas very thoroughly, and we were actually selected one of their ideas for our project. After the initial issue with brainstorming, this member was actually very timely with their work, which helped to dissipate any remaining tension in the group. We actually completed our final design with 2 weeks to spare, so we had some extra time to practice our presentation. We received a 90% on the final project. So in this case, the task was successful. So the interviewee included how the completion of the project went and their final grade. Try to quantify the results of the task as best as you can so that the interviewer can better understand what you're explaining. So this is a good time if you have any questions to put it in the chat. I'm going to leave it on here for just a minute so you guys can type those out. Okay, I'll keep going if you guys don't have any questions right now. So CAR is a common method to use when answering behavioral questions, as it makes sure you hit on the important aspects of your answer to the question. Some interviewers may ask in the beginning of your interview if you're familiar with the CAR or STAR, and if you prepare 3 to 5 stories for your interview based off this method, you'll be able to thoroughly answer their questions. So when you're brainstorming these ideas, think about times that you worked in a team, displayed any leadership skills, resolved a conflict, used your time management skills, took initiative, had any sort of difficulties, or any ethical dilemmas. You can find some potential interview questions based on others' interviews on the Glassdoor website. So practice your response, record yourself, and listen back to make sure that you hit each point of the CAR method, or you can ask a friend to help you out by listening. So here are additional question types you might encounter. Personal questions are going to be similar to the ones we previously discussed. So the tell me about yourself question, why should I hire you? How do you spend your free time? What do you consider your strengths and weaknesses? Professional questions are going to be asked to understand how you function in a professional environment. So how do you work under pressure? How do you manage your time? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And how do you define success? And then academic questions are going to focus on your education. So what courses did you like the most or the least? Why did you choose LSU? How and why did you choose your major? And then the company-specific questions are going to verify your knowledge on the company. So this is where all of your research is going to come in handy. So what do you know about our company? Why did you decide to apply for this job? And would you be willing to relocate or travel for the job? So be prepared to answer any of these questions in your interview. Okay, so at the end of the interviewers will typically give you 5 to 10 minutes to ask any questions that you might have. So make sure to ask questions during this time to show your engagement, curiosity, and interest in the company. You can ask general questions like, can you provide some examples of typical first assignments? What sort of mentorship or professional development opportunities does this company offer? What does a long-term career typically look like for mechanical engineers with your organization? And what opportunities are there for interns to get involved with your philanthropic work? Or you can even come up with some specific questions for the role. So like I saw the company is currently working to transition vehicles to electric power. How do you think a person in this role can positively contribute to the company's goal? I understand that the position requires substantial training. What can I start doing today to ensure that I am prepared? And so you want to try to have at least 5 questions like this ready for your interviewer so that you can ask them at the end of your interview. And you want to prioritize those questions to ask the most important question first, just in case you run out of time. Okay, so you want to make sure that you dress for success in your interview. So for research, you should have an idea on if the company is more casual than professional. If you are not sure, it is safer to overdress than underdress. Try to stick to neutral colors, fix your hair to be clean and neat, and you can wear a suit. Women should wear a conservative top, neutral makeup, and heels that are less than about 2 inches high. And then men's facial hair should be neatly trimmed, and to be most professional, wear a tie. And then gender neutral should be sure to have an ironed light colored shirt and wear at max 5 accessories. Even though most interviews are virtual now, they will be seeing everything within your screen. So if you choose to wear suit pants to get you in the interview spirit, please do, but slacks or comfortable pants should be fine as well. Just be prepared in case you may have to stand up during your interview for any reason. Okay, so to find your video call link for each interview for CID and Handshake, on the left of the Handshake homepage, you're going to go to Jobs and then Applications and then Interview Schedule. If you guys have any issues with that, please email me. I can drop my email in the chat box. Then select each individual interview for CID. The links will be located under the interviewer column on Handshake. So you did your research, dressed in your best suit, answered the interviewer's questions thoroughly using the CAR method, and now your interview is over. So now it is time for you to follow up with the interviewer. Send them a thank you note within 1 business day to thank them for taking the time to interview you. Mention a reference from the conversation to remind them who you are. Display your continued interest in the position and your qualifications for the role. So a thank you note could be something like this example here. So hello, Ms. Frost. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me about the automotive engineering internship positions yesterday. I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation and appreciate the insights you provided into the company. I feel that I have a much better grasp of the scope of the internship role after your explanation of typical project assignments. I'm very excited about this opportunity and know that my past design work on Tiger Racing will be useful context for engine design projects. Thank you again for your time and consideration. I hope to hear from you soon. Courtney. Okay, so that is all that I have for you guys about interviews. Remember to be prepared by doing your research and practicing, dress for success, and continue the conversation with a little thank you note. I'm going to stop the recording here. If you guys have any questions about CID day or anything that I said during my presentation, this is now the time to share them.